Hey everyone, William here. Just wanted to let you know the audio in this first episode's a little rough, especially the first part of it. Jacob and I are still figuring out the best setup for recording our audio and meshing them. Hopefully, it'll be better in the future. Also, I was sick during the first part of the recording, and as such, there were a good few number of sniffles. I have hopefully managed to catch them all in the editing process. Anyway, on to the show. All right. Hello,
Yeah.
everyone, and welcome to the Psychogenic Symposium.
Yeah.
I'm William, here with my inimitable co-host, Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
Why, hello there. I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I'm excited to see how this sort of show does. I think it's a pretty cool concept. I would say that, but yeah. I,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so we two are the sort of two parts of Psychogenic Press, a new up and coming sort of company who wish to sort of release RPG material for a wide variety of systems. Is our plan. Currently, we have nothing released, although we have plenty of things in the process. So definitely look out, and we'll definitely shout out whenever those things are available to the
Yep.
public.
But the purpose of this podcast is to kind of have fun doing little quick design work for different systems, and today we are working with Monster of the Week. So, Jacob, why did we choose Monster of the Week?
Because so we in sort of preparing for this sort of this podcast, we were thinking we wanted the first three sort of pilot episodes to be based on three systems, right? One that I know of mostly, one you know, and one that we both know. And so in that we decided Monster of the Week was the best system that we both are aware of to some degree. As I've ran a game previously, like a 7-8 session a game, and it was a lot of fun.
Right on.
How about you? What's your sort of experience?
Yeah, I've played in two year plus long campaigns of Monster of the Week, both with the same group. They were really fun. Both of them, due to the classic problem of scheduling issues, ran a little bit longer than they were originally intended to. I think the second one that lasted over a year was supposed to be like a summer game that lasted 2 or 3 months, and then it just kept going, which I wasn't complaining about. I loved it.
It feels like all the games that are meant to go long go short, and all the short games go long. It is the spirit of TCRPGs eternally. Additionally, I don't think actually we mentioned our goal is to each create a piece of homebrew content for a system. In these first few episodes, we will be doing so again, like I said, different systems. Although in the future, we may do many in a row, or I guess it depends on how this goes.
Yeah.
What we will do is we will give each other prompts. So we've kind of individually came here with prompts that sort of they give each other a challenge, or at least some sort of guiding principle on design in these games. And we each will be sort of timing ourselves. We won't be designing sort of live, but we will sort of leave and come back, giving ourselves 3 hours to complete each of our sort of projects. It is a challenge in sort of design.
But first, let's help our audience get to know us a little better. Jacob, how did you start playing RPGs?
Well, Will, my first RPG was technically it was a one shot. So we have a local convention called PopCon near where we live, and so sometime like towards the very beginning of high school, I went to PopCon, and they were running. They haven't done this in a few years, sadly, but they were running Pathfinder 1E, and so I came in. I really was really interested in joining a game, or at least trying it, because it wasn't really tied to the culture at all. Like I barely knew about this sort of little hobby, and so I was like, I joined and I played a human monk. I don't remember much from it. All I remember is I ruined a tower and fighting elementals. But beyond that, it was very fun. And from there, I joined our high school sort of D&D club, which I kind of fell in love and became obsessed with this hobby of ours. And now I'm here, sort of at the sort of tail end of college, and yeah, it's become sort of a passion of mine.
I will
I'm going to
say,
ask you to answer that as well.
yeah, I started when I was fairly young. My parents played D&D. So I started, yeah, when I was 6 or 7, playing with them in 3.5 D&D. I'm trying to remember what my first character was. The first one I have clear memories of was a two-weapon elven fighter who went into the 3.5 prestige class Whirling Dervish, which was kind of focused around two-weapon fighting.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been playing on and off ever since. For a while, it was mostly with my family. I didn't really pick up on playing with other people like consistently, probably until middle school. Um, I played in a second edition game that ran for 3 or 4 years. Second edition AD&D, I should clarify.
Yeah.
Sometime when I was in like sixth grade, I want to say. And then obviously in high school, I joined the same gaming club as you. I think I joined first. I don't remember.
Oh, I'm sure you probably would have. Something else to put context into here is me and Will have basically gone to the same school since middle school. Although I really only got to know him during high school.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, we've kind of been tied in that manner for a while. And I'm sort of whenever we sort of started this sort of thing of ours, we made this company. I've sort of really been sort of hyped for it. I think it's gonna make some good stuff here.
yeah, I'm
Um,
excited for sure.
yeah.
And
So I also had a question.
oh
Originally
yes,
we were going to only have one, but I decided why not do another? Why not second question?
we've had first question. Yes.
Yes. So this is again not as deep, I don't think. But what is your favorite fantasy playable ancestry? Doesn't have to be D&D at all, but just general fantasy playable ancestry.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe give some reasons why as well.
it's probably elves just in general, both in D&D and in other games. I've just always really enjoyed elves. Though I've always been a fan of the kind of the Tolkien-esque, ageless.
Yeah, like the alien-esque, like elves.
They're not Tolkien's elves aren't super alien. They're pretty human, I'd say.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I've always liked a good old alien elf. That's like,
yeah, but yeah, I think it's elves. Though dragons and dragon-related things are probably up there as well. I
yeah,
don't really know why for elves. Maybe just because that's like one of the first characters I have clear memories of playing was an elf.
yeah, that's fair. My second character actually I think was half elf. For D&D, so that was fun. Yeah. So for me, my favorite ancestry is well, I have the boring answer and the not boring answer. Well, less boring at least. So I love humans personally. I know it's boring, right? But I something about them. I love sort of. I think the sort of short-livedness of them, at least in comparison, right? In like the almost the progress and the sort of like view of like them being like very short-lived but doing so much in that period. I think is really rich for good stories and like melodrama. Uh,
Sure.
but beyond that, I like halflings. I think halflings or hobbits, in other words, let's hope we don't get sued, uh, are very very good. My current 19th level character and my main sort of D&D game is a halfling, and it's just it's great.
Oh wow, I didn't realize he was a half. They're a halfling. That's really fun.
Yeah, no, they're a halfling, a rogue,
Oh, that's
inquisitive rogue.
classic.
So it's very fun. Yeah. So that was the sort of icebreaker portion. We will have one of those every time we do this. I think it's important for for us to sort of like introduce ourselves periodically.
Yeah.
Y'all get to know us.
Yeah, so you
Um,
can look forward to those from now until the heat death of the universe.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know if I signed up for that commitment, but I guess I'm now signed in blood. You know, when you had me send that contract to Will and Blood, I didn't really think it yeah, well,
Well,
but yeah. I also want to point out, we'll also point out like when this ends, if you're interested in the description, you will find links to our Discord, Blue Sky, as well as our blog. where you can sort of see our occasional posts and sort of interact with us if you wish.
All right, so Monster of the Week is a Powered by the Apocalypse game written by Michael Sands, I believe, and produced by Evil Hat Productions. It is, let me get back to my thing. So it's a story-focused 2d6 system, much like all Powered by the Apocalypse systems. It encourages failing forward via the partial success mechanic, which is, I'll expand upon a little bit. Basically, you roll 2d6, you'll add or subtract a stat, much like many RPGs will do, and then if you have a 10 or above, you've succeeded at what you were doing. If you have a 7 to 9, it's a partial success. So you might kind of get what you were wanting or get what you're wanting, but something bad happens. And then 6 or lower is just a failure. You don't, something goes really wrong. I know one big draw, at least for the person who ran the games I was in, was that it didn't require the DM to roll any dice.
Yeah, it was very very interesting experience as a DM because having sort of at least at that point having mainly ran 5e, it's such a different experience, right? But I think it's the best introduction for non D20 systems because it's so different, but in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, oh, I forgot about to mention when you asked about my experience with the system. I've also ran
Oh,
Masks, which isn't Monster of the Week, but it is another Powered by the Apocalypse system. So
yeah.
many of the same core design tenets hold true.
I'm always interested, but when sort of there's by these like sort of core systems like powered by the apocalypse, right? Like because I got so I backed, of course. I think a lot of people backed it. I backed the Avatar sort of the RPG, the Avatar RPG. And
Yeah,
I know that was based off the powered by apocalypse.
yeah, it
Um,
was. I played one of the playtest versions they sent out to backers because a friend of mine had it. And this was just the playtest version, but I remember wondering if Powered by the Apocalypse was really the right choice for Avatar. It seemed like it
I
was
haven't played it
a
myself.
little, I don't know. It seemed a little bit like they were trying to shoehorn things in, but
That's fair. I remember. So I have all the books like on my bookshelf, just ready to just sitting there gathering dust. And I got like the bigger sort of packet sort of deals, and it came all these like goodies and such. And I just haven't ran it, and it's interesting because I sort of planned on doing that, but I never actually ended up doing it because you can only run so many games in so much time.
unfortunately.
Yeah, right. So I also kind of want to ask you, what was your main character in sort of in your sort of game you were in as a player?
Oh,
I guess you were in two, right? So yeah, I was like going into it like because there's like one of the, I think the keys are like the greatest parts of Monster of the Week and any sort of like powered by apocalypse system are the playbooks. Like it's like very interesting sort of like archetypal like ways to make a character, which I think are very cool.
yeah. So the first character I played was the Monstrous playbook, which lets you play as a monster who's on the side of the good guys. So this is, if you're thinking underlying medium, this is like Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or trying to think. I'm realizing I only really watch the one Monster of the Week show consistently. I can't think of any examples from like Gravity Falls.
Yeah, there's no like main characters that's like that themselves like weird I can think of like just like one offs like the gnomes and the manitors and those are helpful. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
nobody
no,
really.
I get what you mean.
But so, and he was a werebear.
A werebear, that's great.
Yeah,
I had a player play the monstrous, and they were like a dryad, and it was very fun, like a dryad nature spirit. It's very flexible.
it is. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
All the playbooks are reasonably flexible to allow you to play kind of the fiction around the whatever that archetype is supposed to be, while not pigeonholing you into a specific thing.
speaking like kind of continuing sort of like on this sort of thread. And there's a lot of things you could do with the system because we're sort of our task, right, is within. Well, so I'm going to make sure it's aware. It's not a continuous 3 hours.
Yeah, it's
So
3
technically, if we
total
wanted to
hours of
like,
design.
yes. So it could be a week till we meet next, but in that time, we're gonna be timing ourselves with like a little timer and like trying to like sort of 3 hours to design. That does not include sort of looking through the book to try to like think about stuff. That is literally the time of sitting down, putting keyboard to dock.
Right.
And like sort of expand upon that. Like do you know what kind of things like we may be looking to design? What like sort of possibilities are in the system? Well,
Yeah, so there's a lot you can design for the system. Much like many systems, you can design specific stories or adventures to run through. Antagonists, I think, are particularly fun to design in Monster of the Week because there's no dice rolling. You give your monsters, they call them soft moves and hard moves, and usually you give these moves some sort of trigger. Um, so, when if the heroes do this, the monster gets to use its soft move. If the heroes, usually you only use hard moves if the heroes fail at something. But it's pretty fun. I don't think I've actually made a Monster of the Week monster. I think I've only done it for making villains for masks, but I'm pretty sure the underlying concepts are the same.
I
Uh,
have once. I didn't finish it, but I basically made like a. I wanted to make a mimic, like a house size mimic,
oh, that's fun.
in and I got towards that and like the idea of like, oh, what if this like guy who's in the house got turned into an armchair, literally. Who knows? Maybe may expand upon that at some point that
Yeah.
during this podcast. We'll see.
You can also make kind of groups of antagonists. I think the book calls them minions. Often you'll have, smaller, littler, less dangerous um,
Hmm.
things that might initially tip the heroes off or allow you to pad a fight so that things might, go more the length you're looking for. Playbooks are, I think, a big area of design space because while they cover a lot of archetypes, obviously they're never going to cover all of them. I think they have 12 in the base set. I think they've got a few more scattered out through some expansions. But you can very easily think of an archetype to make a new playbook for, and uh, they're a little design intensive, but I don't think they're crazy.
Compared to like something like a 5e class, I don't think they're nearly as bad.
Yes, yeah, yeah, definitely much simpler than 5e or most D20 based
Yeah,
systems.
yeah. Because the leveling system isn't like a level 1, level 2, level 3, and you get these stuff. It's sort of based off of like, oh, you could choose from a list.
Right,
So you don't really focus. You don't need to focus on the like the path of leveling up. You just kind of focus on like what options you have. They have at any point.
right.
Um, Additionally, I want to point out here is another thing I think that was put into the supplemental book that I'm aware of, where it's almost I think it was a group set of playbooks, where like as a
Yes,
group
yep,
you have like a
yeah.
playbook, and that may also be fertile ground.
Yeah, we used that in the second
Oh,
campaign I played in. We were, I think like the neighborhood watch group playbook.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I will say the groups are a little less mechanical than the regular playbooks. They're a little more story and flavor focused, but I found them really fun.
I also think it's also good to point out what we mean by design to sort of define that for us. Um, so design isn't purely mechanical. If we want to design an adventure, that would be under the same sort of pretense of this sort of of this podcast. Basically, anything in relation to the active system that we wish to design. Basically, it's
Right,
pretty freeform beyond our sort of limitations we give each other.
right. So other things we could make, weapons, armor, and gear. There's not a lot of. I mean, the system overall is kind of a little bare bones there, but I think there's lots of fun you can do with that, especially if you wanted to make like. I mean, the genre is chock full of like special magic, whatever. Whether it be the what's the one from Supernatural, like the cult or whatever that can kill most things, or like a magic sword or something like that. There's lots
Yeah.
of room there, and I think the last big thing I can think of is one of the expansions introduced phenomena. So instead
Ooh.
of a monster, it could just be something weird that's happening that you have to figure out and solve. Which I think I've only played in one Phenomena mystery, and I don't remember much about it. But they're an interesting idea.
Yeah. That's definitely an exciting option. So again, I haven't played many Powered by the Apocalypse except for this one time I ran this game. Albeit I ran the game for like 7-8 sessions. At this point, it's been like a year or two since then, and it's sort of I am slightly sort of rusty in the system. Although I don't think that also to stop my designing chops at all. I think it's just it's really looking at it now after having it like waited like been a year or two. It reminds me of how interesting this game is. How like mechanically unique. At least rather not the game itself, but like the system beneath it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to sort of design for it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the Apocalypse, the Powered by the Apocalypse stuff is really fun and interesting.
So I think it is time.
Yeah, probably time for prompts.
The prompts. Yeah. I gave a lot of thinking to this. AKA, I was up at like 2 a.m. and I was I was like, oh, this is the prompt. And I wrote it down. So within the realm of Monster of the Week, I wish for you to design something. The prompt, Saturday morning cartoon.
Okay.
I wrote some Scooby-Doo stuff right there.
All right, yeah, I can figure that out.
But it doesn't have to be Scooby-Doo. It could be as long as it's a Saturday morning cartoon.
I do like that. That's really fun.
Yeah. Is Scooby-Doo Saturday morning cartoon material? I forget.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
All right. Well, for you, I have I'm super excited to see our prompts already diverging a bit in direction. I want you to design a mystery that can't be solved with violence alone.
Okay. That is exciting. Yeah, there's some overlap there, which I kind of find funny.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you'd get this adventure with the Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah. So I guess while not directly going into your initial sort of without telling me what you're gonna make, right? What are your thoughts on the prompt?
I'm a fan of Saturday morning cartoon. That's real fun. I think it's gonna be interesting because it's definitely different from my general Monster of the Week experience, which trended a little bit more towards Buffy or Supernatural style kill a monster.
Yeah.
So
I figured it was you could always do something in relation to that kind of fits. Like always you could have like the you could always do like the gummy bears from that one show as like murderous sort of monsters. It's very flexible and that's purposeful. Yeah. So for yours, I'm very interested, right? Because I ran. I think I actually made 2 adventures. I think I made a leprechaun adventure too. You gotta hate those leprechauns, and yeah, I don't think neither of them were based off of non-violent solutions. That's gonna be very interesting to design.
I thought it was fun because I realized, like I said, most of what I played in Monster of the Week, I was like, well, yeah, we did mystery stuff, but when it came down to it, at the end of the day, it was just hit a big monster with a big stick.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it'd be fun to have to see what you can do Monster of the Week wise that isn't just hit a big monster with a big stick. All right. Well, I think that's it for the first section, right?
Yeah, it's time to sort of travel through time, I think.
Alrighty.
I have called you here, Will, at 1 o'clock at night for a very specific request. For a reason you don't know, but the audience hopefully will soon be aware of. I have asked you to write me a play. A short play, about a paragraph long.
Yeah.
I do not know what this play is. Do you mind sharing it with us?
I sure can. This play is titled Out of Time.
The play follows a manic and out-of-touch scientist, Dr. Mungo, and his assistant, a grad student named Jonathan Harkness. Starting with their discovery of time travel, the play continues through his adventures through different time periods, both historical and fictional, ending with the scientist's death at the hands of his assistants in order to stop the device from permanently damaging space-time. Here, the play shifts. This unfortunately traps young Jonathan in a time loop in which he is forced to kill his mentor over and over, slowly descending into madness. The play doesn't have a proper conclusion, it simply ends after the seventh loop, with the final scene depicting a clearly distressed Jonathan, covered in blood.
Oh, okay. That is
There you go.
extremely interesting, actually.
Standing over the broken remains of Dr.
Okay.
Mungo.
Thank you. That'll help a lot. For reasons the whole see. Well,
Shortly, hopefully.
yes. Well, back to the studio.
All right, welcome back, Jacob. I think we have spent our 3 hours.
Yep, 3 hours over a much longer time than we expected, but we spent the 3 hours.
Yes, it did. It did take quite a bit of time, but we are back, so that's
Yes.
what's important.
Yeah, and back not just from the first part, but also from my question to you, if you remember.
Yes, yeah. You had me write a little paragraph description of a play for you, and
Yes?
I wrote possibly one of the weirdest things I've ever written. So,
Listen, I think it is perfect. I would totally watch it live. So
well, that makes one of us. I'm not so sure. It's a little blood and gore for me, but
yeah, a little intellectual, you may say. But okay, so after I gave you that prompt, we're gonna head into our sort of showcases shortly. But I'm curious, what do you think I've done with your prompt and my weird question, or rather, my weird question for you?
my first guess when you had me write a play was that you were doing a phenomena mystery. Something
Sure.
like The King in Yellow. That was my first thought. There's this
Okay.
play, it is somehow affecting reality or the people who watch it, and because it's a play that's causing it, there's no like monster, it's not even like the writer of the play, it's just the play itself. You can't punch that. You've got to figure out how, what will resolve this thing, whether the play needs a proper ending, because I know I said that the play doesn't really have a proper ending, it just kind of stops, or if you need to like reenact the play but change some part of it, or what have you. So that was my thought.
Interesting. Yeah. And again, in these many weeks it's been, neither of us have told each other what we've made, except for that little hint I did by just asking that question.
Yes.
Um, Additionally, another sort of fun fact is since our first bit, I've been running a Monster of the Week campaign for the last bit. It's been great. It's also let me just get back into the system after so long of just not engaging with it in like the way I used to.
Yeah, it's definitely been difficult for me, uh, partially because I've never run Monster of the Week, I've never written mysteries for it, but also because it's been a while since I even played it. So there was a lot of looking at the book going, how does this work again?
Fun part about sort of doing this is it's really the design work is very slim on the ground. It's just basically story writing, which I think is very, very interesting. I believe actually we both know we've done mysteries. I think that has something that's
Yes.
leaked.
Yeah, we
But
we did talk a little bit, and both of us did mysteries, which was partially the leak was partially my fault because I just assumed we were writing mysteries. I didn't really think about writing something else for Matwa.
yeah, I was a little bit pigeonholed into mysteries due to the prompt, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I did
Um,
kind of force you to write a mystery, I guess.
no, but
Uh,
I'm very happy. I am very happy with this so far.
well, I believe it's time for us to talk about what we have made, and I think we're gonna have you go first, since I am ever so curious what the play I wrote about has to do with this mystery. And just as a reminder, your prompt was a mystery that can't be solved with violence alone.
Yes, and I am so excited about this. And also for those watching, if you sort of go below into the dark zone, aka the description, you will find links to the Google Docs of our individual sort of projects we finished. You could follow along as I sort of describe what I've made. So, the title of mine is The Midnight Theater. It is basically the concept is this mystery is sort of based around an abandoned theater, the Lewis Theater, in a rundown section in a town in West Virginia. Unknown to almost everyone in the town, the theater had previously shut down nearly a decade ago, but since then, it has hosted monthly performances at the dead of night. The cast comprises residents of the city who are sort of attracted by the stage through a strange compulsion while they sleep, almost sort of a sleepwalking performance. For the past 3 months, every show has resulted in the death of at least one of the cast. And so the hunter's job is sort of to determine what is happening and stop it.
All right.
But as everyone knows, the show must go on. The whole mystery, as sort of the prompt suggested, there's no active monster like that, like is like infesting the place. There is a spirit, although the spirit isn't physical in that same way. You aren't supposed to kill it. You can't kill it. As it's I almost imagine it almost as a spirit of creativity that haunts the place after sort of the theater closed, almost as if it is sort of latent creativity left behind,
Okay,
and it just can't let the theater close.
kind of like a Greek muse or similar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've shared it with you, Will. So feel free to ask any questions as we go.
Yeah.
Included in this, I have 4 performances which have led up to this sort of performance the players are dealing with. Which it was a lot of fun writing 4 separate play synopsises that I had a lot of fun with. The theater is almost like a game of telephone. Each show is almost built off each other, like thematically, right? For an example, here are the shows that I pre-wrote. Heavy is the Child on the Throne, which is a comedy about an American family who discover that their infant has somehow become the princess of a small fictional European country. Now the family must navigate constant attention from the country's representatives, while also slowly learning how to raise their child. And then it goes into A Princess in Chains, which sort of due to the princess connections, it's this is one is a Shakespearean play about the princess of Belgium being wrongly imprisoned in Prague by her political opponents, and eventually falling in love with her warden who helps her escape. Which then goes into The Ticket, which is a story about a local police precinct whose officers find themselves in increasingly racking situations after issuing a ticket to a famous actor, determined to weasel their way out of it. And the whole sort of point of this adventure is during that show, one of the actors had a heart attack mid-show and died.
Oh.
And due to sort of the telephone nature of the theater, now every show has an increasing death counts.
I like it.
Yes, which made the prompt that Will gave me so much better, so much better. As now the show that's happening as the players arrive is the one Will gave me, except each version of the wacky Dr. Mongo is played by a different actor who is actually killed.
Oh no.
Yep, they don't even get their own roles. Will, how dare you?
I know, I'm the worst.
Yeah. Yes, I've kind of written this out here. The last bit I did was the names because that's always what you struggle with, right?
Yes.
Because with all the victims and such, because there's been 5 deaths leading up to this sort of instance. The first being the heart attack, and the 4 actually being from the last month's performance, which was that of a police shootout. Yeah, I had so much fun writing this, making this mystery.
It looks great. You're much more yours is much more put together than mine.
I tried. I even found some art that I liked, and I sort of fixed. There was a person standing in it, and I just kind of like booped them out of here there with some affinity
Fair.
work. So, yeah.
Yours is longer too. Yours is like 5 pages. Mine is 1.5 maybe. But to be fair, mine is
I think
all text.
to be fair, I think I was very liberal with my timing because I do a lot of thinking and then I work on it then. So I already had a good idea of what I wanted to do before I start putting pen to paper.
That's fair. So tell me about your process. How'd you come up with this idea?
Well, I'm a big fan of theater. I am. I go to shows often at our local university, who does a lot of shows. And so, in trying to think of a mystery of like that's nonviolent, I was like, I want to make an adventure where the players may have to put on a performance. Because one of the ways of dealing with this issue is just replacing the performance with one where no death occurs, so that the cycle won't continue.
Yeah,
Right.
I did see that, and I feel kind of bad now because when you asked me like, "Oh, what do you think I made?" I thought I would be like way off, and then I did describe what you made, and even kind of predicted the whole, oh, maybe they need to stop it by like performing it or changing something within the play,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
And
oh,
also did. No, I think that's no, it's good. I think it's good. I think it's a clear idea. It's simple, right? But I think simple ideas put down the paper well are very valuable, right?
yes,
Because I think often you find all these ventures that are very hyper specific, right? And it's great to have something that's like, oh, it's a very simple concept of players need to stop this play, right? And even if they somehow like, let's say, I imagine, I think I put it into text here. If they manage to restrain everyone for a month, they could feasibly do that, right?
yeah,
But how about next month, right? So no matter how they stop it or how many whatever what they do, if they kill everyone, they can kill everyone and stop it or do something similar. But just next month it'll happen. It's just a cycle. And how do you stop a cycle beyond just redefining it?
yeah,
So I originally started with this, and I was like, there wasn't enough active sort of clock tickings to go on that like were a threat because it was just all built up to a single event, and that's it. So I added another element. As the timeline is set, one of the siblings of one of the dead characters who died in the previous performance actually knows about the theater, at least knows it's a thing. But they believe it's actually a cult who's inside there, not just people being under control. So if nothing is stopped, then they are going to go into the performance and kill a good portion of the actors. Which, sure, they could do, but it won't stop it. It'll make it worse because people still die and will die
right,
in large numbers. Because I imagine it constantly goes up, and in how many ever debt die, it's gonna just there's gonna be more next time. So yeah, and if they close the theater down, like they can't close the theater down. A part of Monster League Mysteries is the countdown, which I had some issue doing, but the end of that countdown is the city is boarded up, and there is a security guard put into the building, it's like to guard it from these people, right? But no, yeah, if it keeps going, it happens again, and the security guard dies.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm very happy with this. I think it's really cool.
yeah, I like it a lot.
Additionally, something I thought was really clever is there is a box in the theater. It's up in like the manager's office, I said, where there's all like the playbills from all the previous shows,
Ooh,
which is how they discover like the past performances, right? And like maybe can like catch on like it is like a cycle of connecting shows. But I also put there, consider having one of your players as one of a past performer, which I love the idea of.
oh, that is really
Just
fun.
going through these playbills and like maybe like, oh wait, I'm in it, like I'm in the cover of this playbill. Um, which I think is a great way, just like the instant sort of like what's happening here, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
these
real
people
fun.
aren't willing.
Yeah, make the stakes personal.
Yeah. And I like the idea of these playbills, just gruesome scenes on the cover, gruesome. It's very just chilling. I can almost imagine if this is put into print, the cover of this adventure would be a playbill of one of these shows of just like a gruesome scene on the front, or not like gruesome, but like a police shootout or something, right?
Right, right.
I
Yeah,
think
no, I
that'd be
can see that.
really alluring. But your play gave me a lot of good things to work with because I was worried you wouldn't put death in it, and I'd have to like figure something out, like how do people die in it? No, but you put me 7 deaths.
Seven
It's great.
deaths. That is
You and death
that
heavy.
was
So that's thank you.
that was perfect. I was trying
Yeah.
because I did try to make the play like weird and dark because I was like, okay, this is being used for a Monster of the Week mystery, so it should be weird and dark in some way. So I am glad that putting 7 deaths really played into everything.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of a time loop. I think even seeing a show that has 7 sort of permutations of the same scene would is really sounds really cool to me. And having it with different actors is like, oh, that'd be great. That'd be
That
amazing.
that would
Um,
be. It's a really interesting concept. If I had the ability to write a play, I might try to write this play. I do not
right?
though. So,
That'd be cool.
if someone else
Um,
out there wants to write Out of Time, featuring the 7 grisly deaths of Dr. Mongo, go for it. I'd love to to
yeah.
attend that play.
Reach out to us. Our email's in the description. So
Yeah.
we'd love to get an email from you. Okay. Next is also want to say is there's another element I put in here is there is a older bank clerk who actually has been going to these shows for like a few years now.
Yeah,
He
that's
discovered him.
really
It's like,
interesting.
and he's heads in, right? He's let in, and he watches it, and like who wouldn't, right? Like just abandoned theater of like for some reason there's a show every night, and it's weird, really weird, but it happens.
It's really interesting from a like a world building standpoint that the play that the spirit or whatever is forcing the usher, I think you call it,
Yes.
uh, is forcing these unconscious people to come and play the part of an audience, but it also will let an actual conscious audience in.
Yeah. No, I don't imagine like the usher isn't evil. The usher isn't good. They are the spirit of creativity.
Right, it's just doing what it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, I think it's as a creature doesn't realize what it's doing is evil or bad. It's just like I'm bringing like it is a creative act. It is so it must be right, right? I think I put here in its description. Yeah, he'll answer questions, although he'll never reveal spoilers. He cannot
That's
be
funny.
killed. Like if you like slash at him, he'll be like a puff of smoke, right? And he'll always reappear. So you can't kill him, right? That's a big deal.
Ooh, I don't know about you, but I think a really funny thing to do with the Usher, with the whole like can't be killed, is anytime like somebody tries to kill him, like does a like really dramatic stage death, and then
That would be funny.
like the Usher just like walks back on from quote unquote off stage. It's just like,
Um,
oh, nope, okay, still here.
I also like I put in here. He does not acknowledge any deaths except for the emotions of the scene being spectacular and similar thoughts,
That's
which I think
hilarious.
is so funny.
I,
Again, I think this is a really really fun adventure. I think it's pretty short. Right? I don't think this would take that long to run either.
yeah, I love the idea that the Usher, if the Usher can't be killed, I love the idea that the Usher maybe just doesn't even understand death.
I don't imagine so. You can't kill an idea, right? And the usher is just an idea.
Right,
I
yeah.
imagine.
So the Usher probably doesn't even have a frame of reference for the fact that these actors are dying. The Usher doesn't
Nope.
know what that is, what that means, or why
Oh
that
yeah.
would matter.
There's a reason every show is sort of just a continuation of each other. I almost imagine them being Fae like, except not like being individual like a Fae is.
Yeah,
I almost imagine like in whenever the theater was closed, there's probably so much anguished by like the actors and the performers and such that almost that sort of anguish or that sort of need to be creative that it was just snuffed out. It was almost like formed this like sort of being. It's
right,
like to basically fulfill that sort of need of creativity in the town.
right,
Um,
and that plays well into the whole the idea of continuity with the plays, right?
yeah, and again, this has been 10 years going. Like this isn't this is a thing that's been happening a long time. Like I imagine a way to stop this would be to somehow exercise the spirit. It's not detailed in the adventure, but I'm sure that's a path someone could go. But
Right,
it's like, is that a good? Is that net good? Like I can almost imagine when these people wake up, like from like after what they've done, they feel fulfilled in some way. I almost imagine. I don't think I put it in the adventure,
that's fun.
but like
Yeah,
sure, it's not like by choice, but they're making these great shows, even if not many people see them or not anyone sees them. And I guess it's also like very like philosophistic, like with like the idea of like is creation of good art in a vacuum still valuable? I imagine.
right. Yeah,
I'm very happy. I think this is a great idea.
yeah. Lots of good questions,
For
lots of good ideas, lots of good execution. Some interesting questions.
additionally, I'll put out there if anyone's interested in this adventure beyond what I have here, with enough support, anything we make in the show, we'd be willing to expand into a full product which we release. So please let us know if you like something and you would be like interested. Yeah. Any other questions for this? Like I imagine this is really fun to make. I'm really happy with what I like my end product here. I think it's a good adventure and it can be run as is.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a little jealous, honestly.
I think if I were to expand it, which I think we're gonna ask each other, is I would define the other people who died
Sure.
because they aren't really defined well.
Hmm.
Um, maybe I think the clock isn't well because I think the clock's supposed to give like active sort of signposts of bad things, but a lot of these things they wouldn't notice.
That's fair.
So I'd probably change that up. I wanted to add a bit about how the police are reacting. Like, oh, are they expecting something to happen like in the next few days, or is they like I don't know. But yeah, the Midnight Theater. So that is it, I imagine. Unless any other questions.
No, I think that's good.
Awesome. I'm trying to think anything else I have in mind. I'm honestly not sure what it was inspired by.
That's fair.
But I think I love art, and I think theater is so good, and I think the idea of honestly you mentioned the King of Yellow. You
Yeah, the
mentioned
King
the
in
King of
Yellow.
Yellow earlier, and I didn't even think about that when making this. When you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, that kind of is somewhat similar in a weird way.
That's so funny.
I just wanted to do a show about these different plays, which potentially players may have to make one up and do, right? Or on those
Yeah.
lines.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I
Well, now, Will,
guess it's my turn, isn't it?
yeah, it is your turn. And just to remind the folks with us, your prompt was Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah. So I'm curious. You don't have as much information because I didn't ask you to write me a play synopsis or anything along those lines. What do you think I did with this?
Well, I could tell you what I would have done with it. I like the idea of a literal Saturday morning cartoons coming out like into our real world. Well, that's a pretty creative interpretation, I think.
Oh, that would have been fun.
I also was potentially thinking maybe you wrote something in the style of Saturday morning cartoons. So it's not really where it was just adventure yet. You'd see like the Scooby Gang like do or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know actually. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, before we continue, what would you have done with your own prompt?
Oh, what would I have done for a
Yeah,
mystery that can't be solved with violence alone? Oh, that's a great question. That
yeah.
is tricky. I think I probably would have gone for something like, do you know the movie Monster House?
Oh, I that movie was my childhood. Yep, I do know it.
I think I might have done something like that where the danger was just too large and inhuman, and that the solution had to be something else.
Speaking of Monster House, that movie was so such a good adventure fodder. I think
It is.
like the creative problem solving of those characters in that movie. Mwah. Like I remember them taking a vacuum, putting like a shirt on it, like putting like a sleeping like medicine in the vacuum. It was a really good movie.
It was. It was a solid movie. So, the title of this adventure, which I believe I have sent a link to you for, the title is If It Weren't for Those Meddling... The outline of the mystery is that I made a phenomenon. It's a conspiracy phenomenon, which means it's trying to. I can't remember the exact wording in the book. I'm sure the book is around here somewhere, but it's trying to keep things secret and cause a little bit of panic. Yeah, it has some elements of a panic phenomenon. So it's meant to resemble Saturday morning mystery cartoons, mostly Scooby Doo. But I did say I didn't really write anything for it, but if you wanted it to be an actual supernatural phenomenon, then it might trend a little closer to like Gravity Falls. The important parts is the PCs. So the group should arrive from out of town, though it's helpful to establish one or two people they know in town, and maybe they're even coming to visit or help one of these people. So something odd is happening on the outskirts of town. It should be attached to a thematically appropriate location, and the perpetrators of the strangeness should be normal for the adventure I wrote, at least, masquerading as the supernatural. Once again, unless you're looking for something a little more Gravity Falls, in which case I don't know, maybe go whole hog on them being supernatural. Have fun.
Yeah. I must ask you, and this is a very important question. Did you watch any Scooby Doo in preparation, or any other Saturday morning cartoons in preparation for writing this?
No, but a little known fact about me is I love Scooby Doo. I have
Oh,
watched
really?
so much Scooby Doo in my life. My family has always been big fans of Scooby Doo, and so I have seen most of the Scooby Doo media that
You're a
exists.
do-head. You're a do-head.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. So yeah, the main weaknesses for the phenomenon should I didn't write anything specific, but they should just be things that hint that something not supernatural is going on. Classic ones from Scooby Doo are things like someone wearing a diving suit gets their pretending to be a ghost of a diver gets an airline cut and has to run away because obviously they're not a ghost, they're a real person and they need to be able to breathe. So
I
things like
think
that.
Like a gun, all right, would be a good weakness. No,
I mean, yeah, it is. Weirdly, I've kind of done my prompt here because I guess you can solve it with violence, but it's kind of thematically inappropriate to do so.
yeah, you don't really see Scooby packing really.
No, not usually. Yeah, so I wrote out, because I knew I was supposed to have these, a list of some hard and soft moves to use. And most of these, once again, thematically are pretty Scooby-Doo coded. Capture a nosy investigator, split the group. That's one of my favorite things that happens in Scooby-Doo media, is one of them will like be searching around, they'll pull on something on a bookcase and the whole bookcase spins around and no one else in the group notices.
So it
Or
feels like you almost made a subsection of mystery here. Like you did you make up these hard moves?
I did.
Yeah, so you basically made just also a format of like how like to make Scooby Doo adventures.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
Um, and I've got drive someone away in a panic. That's a classic. Scooby and Shaggy are always running away from whatever it is.
Hmm.
Soft moves, things like was that chair always there? Just move things around in the environment to confuse people, to throw off investigation. Appear where they least expect you, which is pretty self-explanatory. And one of my favorites, watch them from a hidden vantage point. There's not always, but there's almost always some like secret passage that they're using to spy, or like a picture with the eyes cut out that they're watching through in the Scooby-Doo cartoons. So I had to have that in some way.
I really just want to watch some Scooby Doo now. Actually, should we? Well, I know we're like most of the way through filming the first episode, but is it too late to make the Scooby Doo podcast?
I think it might be a little late.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I almost imagine with was that chair always there? The almost sort of also being like the moments when there's like a chase scene and they move through one door and go out another door that makes no sense at all.
I do. That is. I did. I wanted to. I wasn't sure if there was a way to make that into a move, but I did. I did want that in there because it is a classic. So then the last like half a page of this is the actual mystery that I set up, which is that
Okay.
there is an old sawmill on the edge of the lake a few miles outside of town, where the townsfolk have noticed strange lights and noises at night, and believe that it is the ghost of a greedy old owner who's returned trying to turn a profit even in death. It's really a cover for, I don't know, a smuggling operation or something of the like. I leave what it actually is a little bit vague so people can kind of plug in what they think is fun or interesting.
Okay.
There's a local hotel, an old rundown hotel where the group can stay, which has a owner who's a little bit suspicious. His name is Mr. Greenway. He is a slightly unfriendly hotel proprietor, and he's going to try to warn the group off, which, once again, probably makes him suspicious, but he's not the culprit. He just is. He thinks there's a weird haunting going on and doesn't think it's safe.
He's the red herring.
Yeah, he is. He is literally the red herring. That's yeah, that's how I have him listed.
Oh, I didn't
Red
even say
herring.
that. Did you ever watch the old Scooby Doo cartoon? I think it's Pup Them Scooby Doo, which is my favorite
Yes.
personally.
Yep. I did.
There was literally a character named Red Herring.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
I also have in here a pre-made old friend for them to be visiting by the name of Dr. Tewksbury, or Tewksbury, who is a perfect target for my countdown, because during the shadows, the perpetrators, the culprit, is supposed to kidnap a prominent bystander who was too close to the truth. And that's a perfect way to kind of help motivate the group to look into things more. Is okay, yeah, weird lights, whatever, sure. Oh, our friend is gone. Now we have a personal reason to go in there. And I didn't define the culprit really. Once again, trying to leave some room for people to plug their own things in. But I do suggest that the culprit is met in passing at least once before things really get going, and that meeting should probably have some aspect that is innocuous on first viewing, but makes them suspicious in hindsight. So like once the mystery is over and they pull off the mask and it's old man. I was gonna say, sure, old man McGucket, crossing genres there a little bit, but it's fine. They should be able to look back and say, oh, of course it was. He was leaving town at like 9 at night with a bunch of like rope and oil lanterns and stuff. Of course it was him.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I do not have a finished countdown. I have everything but Sunset. I had no idea what to put in Sunset. So I just
Yeah,
kind of
that's the hard
skipped
part.
it. I was just like, whatever.
I really think it'd be really funny to basically say, "Hey, we're gonna run a Scooby Doo mystery, so be in sort of in genre."
Yeah,
It's making it a very serious story about a drug smuggling operation in the town.
that's a
Uh,
thing that classic Scooby Doo did all the time, right? It's a very
really,
light cartoon, not necessarily drug smuggling, but like all the time it would turn out that they were like uh covering up like an illegal mining operation or
yeah,
a smuggling operation or all these other things that you're like, oh, that's a really serious crime.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, how quickly did you know? Like, hey, I want to do Scooby Doo
Oh, instantly.
instantly,
Yeah,
instantly.
the
That's great.
second you said Saturday morning cartoon, I thought to myself, I'm gonna make a Scooby Doo mystery.
That's yeah, that's great. I love it. So if you were to expand this out right into like a full product or give it more time to work on it, what would be your sort of focus?
A big focus is I'd want to some of the places I've kind of left spaces for people to plug in their own things. I'd probably go in and figure out exactly what it is. Like I'd probably have a name for the culprit, right? If I'm making a product that other people are just going to sit down and try to run, I'm really going to focus on I want to have a named culprit. I want to have exactly what their motivations are down. I'd want to figure out what happens at sunset because I don't
Sunset.
have something for that. I'd want to find some art.
Yeah. I don't think it's probably hard. There's been a million. Scooby Doo's not public domain, is it?
No, no, absolutely not.
No. Yeah, because public domain is insane in the U.S., so probably not. Yeah.
No, I think it's still got a good 40 plus years before even the first
Really?
run would come out. Yeah, because Steamboat Willie
Yeah, that's
came
fair.
out of
No, you're right.
public domain pretty recently, and that's like late 20s.
Yeah, you're right.
Whereas I think the first Scooby Doo is late 60s.
Wow. Yeah, I love how much of a product of the time Scooby Doo is. Like with the '60s, I used to like get like the vibe of the '60s from the show. But it still has been very similar, right? It's
Yeah,
um like the van is literally a hippie van, right?
it is. Yeah,
It was sort of
I
just
mean,
about the sort of disenfranchised youth of that generation who kind of felt sort of disconnected.
yeah,
Really good.
yeah. And I mean, Shaggy is clearly a stoner. Uh,
Yeah, right?
I don't think you could make a more obvious stoner pastiche who doesn't ever on screen actually smoke. But yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah. I noticed
Um,
this venture is very open to detail, I've noticed. There's not many specifics given.
yeah,
So was the
that's
thought process behind that letting like basis having it open so people could put their own stuff in it?
yeah, that's usually honestly that's usually how I write adventures in general. Is I will have broad outlines of like here's a thing, here's generally how it works, but then they have but I usually leave a lot of room for things. Even the names I put in here, I'll be honest, I stole Dr. Tewksbury and Mr. Greenway are Scooby Doo characters. Um,
Oh, okay.
they're not doing exactly, they're not like, I didn't just literally take the entire character of Mr. Greenway and plug him in, but I did take his name.
I thought Tewksbury may have been a Tolkien pastiche, but I guess I was wrong. Or maybe it
Uh,
was in the time. Who
yeah,
knows?
maybe it was originally, I don't know. Uh, I think in the original episode he's a what is he? He's like a doctor running a sanatorium who they think is doing the haunting, but he's not. He's just sleeping through it, which is just really funny.
No, that's great.
This guy's just like, yeah, there's a haunting, and they're like, you seem pretty suspicious. Oh no, he just sleeps heavily, I guess.
Just you can't arrest someone for sleeping heavily. Oh, that's great. Do you think making this adventure sort of flexed your publishing muscles in any way? Was there anything you really weren't used to when it came to design? Something you were used to that you felt like was well defined here?
It's difficult for me to work with a system that is so light mechanically. I'm a very mechanically focused player and designer. So mechanically as a player, I think Monster of the Week is light, but it has plenty to kind of nom onto. But from a design standpoint, there's not a lot of mechanics for the keeper, right? The keeper doesn't roll dice, so there's no like randomization to balance. There's no, and since I'm writing a phenomena, it doesn't have health like a regular monster would. It doesn't have any of those other things. It's not doing damage really to the players. It can, but it doesn't have to. So there's a real lack of mechanical oomph for me to dig into, which is difficult for me. I really like messing around with numbers when I'm
I'm
designing.
really I'm really surprised in that case you didn't actually make a monster because those are a bit more mechanically hardy in that way.
Yeah, but
For
I
the mystery,
had to do a Scooby Doo, and
well, you probably could have done a Scooby Doo
I just
monster. Like
I think they work better as phenomena. I'm sure I could have written them as a monster, but I think they just work better as a phenomenon. I don't
like
think because that's how like the episodes usually run.
yeah, that's fair. Although I could just imagine like their a lot of their like abilities being like actively like very promoting that sort of level and like outright saying, hey, any harm done is an actual harm, right?
I did think
It's
about
like
that.
almost
I did consider instead of having like a hard move, just capturing a nosy investigator, saying that like, hey, you can't actually die from the harm, but if anyone's harm thing gets filled up, they're like separated or captured
captured.
by the monster or something. So I did
Yeah,
consider it. I felt it would run better as a phenomenon, so that's what I wrote.
fair
But yeah,
enough.
you definitely could do a monster. But I think it was also good to challenge myself with something that was a little less mechanical.
Yeah, I noticed that in this video about Monster of the Week, neither of us really did a monster, which I think is very funny.
Well, yeah, but what are they? There's lots of monsters.
Yeah, there's only one Scooby Doo. Oh, wait a minute. Uh,
Well, not so much, but
yeah,
oops.
yeah. No, I'm sure the viewers are not going to come banging on our comment section. Um,
You know what? I hope they do. I'll fight all of them in the comments section. Give me
y'all
your
heard that?
worst.
Will personally fist fight you all.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a promise. If you
yes.
show up at my door, I promise one fist fight.
Only one though. Don't get greedy.
Yeah, no, not more than one. If you show up a second time, I will just call the police.
Yeah. So I think it's really good. I've always loved Saturday morning cartoons. Something about them very calming. So it's cool to have an adventure like that.
Yeah,
Um, Speaking of which, I'm very tempted actually to run my adventure and
I
live
did
stream it.
I did think about that. I did think about it. I was like, man, I feel like we could just run these adventures at some point. Monster of
Yeah.
the Week's a light game. Lots of the people we normally play with have lots of experience playing in Monster of the Week. I'd love to do because there's a are you familiar with the group playbooks
Yes, I saw that, and
with
I had
Monster of
that
the
in
Week?
mind when you read yours. 'Cause I think there's one that's very Scooby Doo esque, if I'm
Yeah,
not
there is.
wrong.
There's I don't remember what they're called, but yeah, there is a like a bunch of meddling kids
I can literally
playbook.
open it now. I have it here. Yeah, so Mystery Club is the one where it's basically the Scooby Gang, and I kind of love the art here because it's so Scooby Doo. It's great.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is really good.
yeah, maybe you could totally run yours with that playbook. And honestly, since yours is just so GM specific, I could probably be in that game. Honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so if you want to run it, that'd be great and like stream it. I think it'd be a hoot.
Yeah, I might do that at some point.
Um, yeah. So how do you think we did, Will, in today's sort of first outing upon the Psychogenic Symposium?
I think it went well. Uh, I
Has our
hope
symposium has been fulfilling?
I think Yeah, I think they were good. I hope people listening think they were good, because I guess that probably
I hope
matters a
so. Yeah.
little
Again,
more.
they're in the comments. If you run these, please, please, please tell them how they went. I would love to hear from people.
Yeah. Or if somebody else runs them for you, also let us
Yes,
know how it went.
we will talk about it on the show if you tell us. Again, email in the description. We also will read every comment. We're on Blue Sky.
If you run this for your players, you're contractually obligated to make them all tell us how it went. You gotta hold a
Yes.
gun to their head and sit them down at a computer.
Yep. I'm afraid that's we didn't write the rules.
Yeah, I don't even enforce them. I leave that up to a third-party contractor. But
Yeah. So yeah, again, in the description, for anyone who wants it. If you want these pro products, again, let us know. We'd be really, really willing to expand upon these.
yeah,
I'm really happy with mine, and I'd love to see it as a full thing.
yeah, I'm
But
happy
we want
with
to know
both
if
of them.
people are interested.
I think they're really good. If you have any recommendations for systems for us to do in the future, also let us know. Email, comments, Blue Sky, what have you. We are always looking to do more stuff.
Yeah, we have some ideas going forward, but it's always good to have new ones. Additionally, while we have you here, make sure to like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. We will be releasing more of these as time goes on, as well as releasing products for a variety of systems. Basic Fantasy, Draw Steel, maybe even Monster of the Week if these are popular.
Yeah.
Who knows? I really don't think mine is far off from being finished, legitimately.
No, no, not at
So
all. Yeah, I think yours could very. I think I could sit down with yours right now and like run it.
yeah,
I don't think
um,
I'd have any issues.
again, I'm very happy with it.
So before we go, we've got a couple things. Where can the lovely people listening to this find us?
Well, I'm really glad you asked, Will, because as always, we're on our YouTubes here. We are on Blue Sky, as well as our blog, which will also be in the description.
What are some other products we're working on?
So, by the time this episode releases, in the description you should see, we have just put out 8 iconic items for Draw Steel, where we've brought some very iconic items from the history of a certain Dragons game into the up and coming Draw Steel system, which is set to release on the 17th. So, Will, we've talked about this, but what have we decided upon what to do next?
Well, next time we'll be creeping through the dungeon when orcs attack, and we must draw steel.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, it's a system you have a decent amount of experience with, and I have next to no experience with.
Yes, I ran a game for Will a few weeks back. So they have some experience, but not much. I'm sure in the time between here and now, I may try to plan another game for Will, or maybe Will, I may put you behind the screen forcibly,
Oh,
with a gun to your head.
yeah.
So
All right. Well, until next time.